Welcome. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to subtract mixed numbers. Where the fraction is going to be, where fraction part are like fractions. All right, so let's start. So we're going to have 3 and then 2 over 3 minus 1 and 1/3. So the way you do this is as follows. The fractions, this one has to be, the numerator has to be larger than the numerator from the second fraction. So that's a requirement. And of course, they need, because we're looking at like fractions, this has to match this. And then what you do is this. So the integer part, you subtract them. For example, 3 minus 1, that's equal to 2. And then you do just like fraction subtraction, you subtract the fraction. So for example, the answer is going to have 3. And then 2 minus 1, that's 1. So final answer is 2 and 1/3. So let's look at another of the same type, similar type. So let's look at something like 7 and 4/5 minus 3 and 2/5. Okay, you subtract the integer part. So 7 minus 3, that's 4. Then you subtract the fraction part. So this is 5 because same denominator. Then 4 minus 2, that's 2. So the answer is 4 and 2/5. Okay. Now I'm going to teach you one where the fraction, where the left side of the numerator is smaller than the right side. So for example, 7 and 1/3 minus 5 and 2/3. I'm gonna call it 2/3. Okay. All right. So now here you can see 1 is less than 2. So what you have to do is you have to borrow from the 7. The way you do it is as follows. The 1/3 you're gonna add. So how can I write a whole number in terms of a fraction? Of course, I'm gonna borrow one from here. So I have to add. The way you do it is that this: you take the numerator, and then you add 3 over 3, the same denominator, top and bottom. So 1/3 plus 3/3, and then you do the same as like fraction. Same denominator, and then you add the top. So 1 plus 3 is 4. So 4/3. So this mixed number, the left side, is gonna be renamed as follows. So 7, because I borrowed 1, becomes 6. And then the new fraction is this one. It becomes 4/3 minus 5 and 2/3. Notice now, numerator of the fraction part is larger than the numerator on the right side. So we can do the subtraction. Okay, so first thing, subtract the whole number. So 6 minus 5 is 1. And then 4 minus 2, that's 2 over 3. So answer is 1 and 2/3. All right. Let's do one more like this. We're gonna have we're gonna do 10, and then we're gonna do 1/4 minus 6, and then we're gonna do 3/4. Okay, so numerator here 1 is less than 3, so what we need to borrow 1 from the 10. So we're gonna rename the fraction on the left side. So it's gonna be 6, and then you borrow 1, so it's gonna be 1/4 plus 4/4. That's 5/4. So that becomes the new fraction part of the left side. Then 6 and 3/4. Now this 5 is greater than 3, so we can do the subtraction. So that's gonna be equal to, I'm sorry, this doesn't become 6, it becomes 10 minus 1 is 9. Okay, so now 9 minus 6 is 3, and then 5 minus 3, that's 2. Let's make it better. So that'll be 2/4. And of course, we can simplify this fraction. So because this becomes 1 and this becomes 2. So the final answer is going to be equal to 3 1/2. Because we can divide top and bottom by 2 here, the fraction part, and we get 1/2. So the final answer is going to be 3 1/2. I'm going to give you one where your answer is going to be, you can leave it as a fraction, but you can also leave it as a whole number. So you have like fractions that end up as a whole number. I'm going to give you 2 examples. So the first example is when you have something like this, 7 1/3 minus 7 1/3. Okay, so now doing the same process. Of course, this is the same mixed number, so that should give us 0. But let's do it the way regular do it. Okay, so 7 minus 7 is 0, and then you have 1 minus 1, 0, and then 3 is the bottom. So 0/3, that's equal to 0. So the answer is 0, and the whole number is 0, so the whole thing is 0. So that's one case. The other case is when you get a whole number other than 0. So that's going to be equal to for example, let's do this one. Okay, so 8 2/3 minus 5 2/3. Okay, so now we can subtract fraction because 2 is larger or the same. So it's gonna be 8 minus 5, that's gonna be equal to 3, and then 2/3 minus 2/3, that's 0/0. But you don't want to write that 0, so that the final answer is just 3. So that's a whole number. You started with mixed numbers and you end up with a whole number. Let me give you one example where okay, let me show you. Where you don't end up with an integer part. So for example, you're gonna do 6, and then you're gonna have 4 6 minus 6 and 2 6. Okay, so numerator larger than the second. Okay, so that's good. So the way you do it, 6 minus 6, 0. And then you have 4 minus 2, that's 2 over 6. But you don't want to write this 0, so that's the whole answer is going to be equal to 2 over 6. So in this case, you're going to end up with a regular fraction. Okay, so now 2 over 6 is not simplified, so we can divide top and bottom by 2. So 2 over 6 becomes 1/3. And that's your final answer. So the mixed number started with mixed numbers. Now we have a regular fraction. So that's another case that you can end up with. And of course, here we're only getting positive numbers, so we're not talking about negative numbers in this video. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe, please.